Clorox Bleach will give your enemies indigestion, and today I'm gonna tell you how to build her best. My name is Juice, and let's get into it. So what artifacts does this lightning quick champion desire? None other than 4-piece Harmonic Whimsy. She operates on Bond of Life based mechanics, so naturally this will end up being her definitive best in slot set. The damage increase you get from using this set is massive, and it's perfectly tailor-made for her kit. It's extremely easy to fully stack it on her too, since she attacks so quickly. The 2 pieces provision of attack percent is a very welcome addition as well. Fantastic Clorinde pick. Otherwise, 4-piece Gladiators works well with Chlorophyll. It's the same logic as using it on Arlecchino, but to a slightly lesser extent. Normal attack-centric buffs are great for her kit, and because you passively farm this set, you'll end up with broken pieces over time which are hard to replace with new Harmonic pieces. Harmonic is still very worth farming for Clorox Bleach in my opinion, but this serves as a more than capable set if you want to be resin efficient. 4-piece Thundering Fury works too, and it can actually be quite nice in Official Aggravate teams. However, a few things to note here. While you'll be proccing plenty of Official A4s, you're wasting a lot of her personal damage potential by trying to improve her official driving capabilities. Thundering Fury is decent for her damage, but not absolutely incredible. It's more efficient to run a set which improves her own damage. Plus, it's restrictive, because when you try to play Clorinde in any non-official aggro team, the set loses a lot of value. Certainly viable, but keep its flaws in mind. 2-piece mix and match sets include 2-piece attack percent, electro percent, and normal percent. As for Clorox's main stats, simple. Go for attack percent, electro percent, crit percent. A very standard ADC build. She scales very heavily on attack, especially when you take her A1 into account. Electro damage works as her best in slot goblet as you'd expect, and she enjoys crit like any of her traditional DPS, so a crit percent circlet is the way to go. As for stack goals, simple. Go for 2.1k attack on a 4-star, 2.3k attack on a 5-star, 60 to 210 crit on a 5-star, and 60 to 270 crit on a 4-star. Those are the general stats that you want to aim for. 2k attack would be the absolute minimum. Try to get more than that if you can. Don't underestimate the value of attack percent rolls. She ascends with crit and gains 20% rate from her A4, so getting 60 to 170 on a 4-star is indeed possible. Any crit stick 5-star weapon should get you over the 210 mark with ease. I feel like stat goals are more useful than substat priorities, and I don't know why I didn't do them in my Genshin guides, so let me know if you prefer this over the substat priorities. As always, if you're an older player with a stupidly broken Glad set, just use that. Otherwise, Harmonic is her most versatile option, which matters a lot when you consider that Clorinde has some of the greatest effective versatility around. Note that TF is very low, because these calcs are using Overload. It'd perform a lot better in Aggravate, but still wouldn't be best in slot over Harmonic. Her burst is very strong, so picking up some ER percent subs on the way isn't a bad idea. Obviously prioritize damaging stats over it, but still not a bad stat to have. A duelist needs a good blade that doesn't start fights, but ends them. So what'll her finest weapon picks be? None other than Absolution. This weapon was tailor-made for her, so naturally it ends up as her definitive best in slot. The passive works perfectly with her Bond of Life based mechanics, the base attack is huge, and the crit value is extraordinarily high even by 5-star weapon standards. If you main this character, then genuinely, this is one of the best signature weapons I've ever seen for an individual character. However, if you happen to already have her on, it'll not be too far behind her signature thanks to the boost to normal attack playstyles that it provides, not to mention the juicy 5-star stats. Great weapon pick if you have it. Mistsplitter is super close to her on, therefore also not being far off of her sig. Splendid choice if you own it, especially considering how versatile this 5-star sword is in general. Clorox makes great use out of it. Other 5-star crit stick weapons like Page AC, Foliar Incision, and Uraku Misugiri are all very competent stat sticks on her. If you have any of them, yes, they will be better than her 4-star picks and all perform relatively closely to one another. Calamity of Eshu is one that I've been asked about a lot. It works well in teams where you're using a shielder with Clorinde, but in most of her teams, a shielder is not best in slot. Lon Yan and Toma can help activate the passive for her, but it's generally not worth doing so if you have better teammates. Note that in Overload teams, using Toma over Moika for Eshu's passive is not worth it, due to how high value the Exalted Pyro Archon's personal damage is. Good weapon, albeit conditional. Finale of the Deep is a free-to-play accessible craftable pick that any player is able to obtain. It features a lovely Bond of Life-based passive, gets better with refinements, and feeds Clorox Bleach with plenty of attack percent. Splendid free-to-play friendly choice if you have none of her other options, as it is real neat synergy with her kit. Clorox has multiple good options that you're able to aim for. The craftable is perfect synergy with her kit, and she can use most 5-star weapons, so you'll be quite sorted options-wise. Yet who shall be executed by Clorinde's blade? Well, this character has a crud ton of team archetypes, so buckle up. Overload is her current de facto best in slot team. You'll get the absolute best performance out of her. Chevreuse is an insane character for Clorox, giving her a ton of electro-related damage boosts which seriously improve her performance. It's certainly nothing to scoff at. The team got a buff with the recently released Honorary Son of Caledon Moika. Clorinde has great synergy with her thanks to being able to build up fighting spirit quickly due to her fast normal attacks. This has been her tried and true best in slot ever since her initial release, and it has only ever improved over time. Example teams include Clorox Bleach, Autoron, Chevreuse, Moika, Clorinde, Fischl, Firecop, Xiangling. Hyper is a really strong team that takes advantage of how impressive Clorox Bleach's damage potential is. You hone in on buffing her to the max, so that you're able to see big electro numbers on your screen. Some fun things to note would be that since the electric cop attacks so fast, she can actually fully use up Yunjin's burst, so that's fun. Also, because her uptime is pretty short, she can fit perfectly into a C6 Kujo Sara's major buffing window. You'll love to see it. Great team for her if you have higher investment on your Clorinde. Example teams include Chlorophyll, Kujo Sara, Yunjin, and Kazuha or Shilonen. You can also opt for Aggravate, which works exactly as you'd expect it to. It's official A4 Shell team. This works well, and it will end up being the strongest Aggravate team in the game thanks to how good the character herself is. However, keep in mind that when you play her this way, you're not making the most of her maximum damage potential, but if you're a Fischl fan that wants to play the crazy girl in the best way possible, then this is the way to go. It's also pretty free to play friendly thanks to all the 4-star substitutes available for many different aspects of the team. Do note that Kazuha is preferable over Shilonen here, since he can spread the application of Electro through his skill infusion and burst infusion. Example teams include Clorinde, Fischl, any Dendro, and any 4VV holding Animo. Keep in mind that Nihida's Dendro application can be a little strong for this team, so if you want to use her, then make sure you swirl Electro before Clorinde swaps in for VV uptime. Taser recently got an upgrade thanks to the recent release of Autodon, which allowed the champion duelists teams to access 4-piece Ender City. Because of this, she's now a very competitive Taser option that rivals other major Taser drivers. Really solid archetype that got a massive leg up thanks to the game's latest patches. Clorox has seen some really neat buffs via Notlon. Example teams include Hunt Them Down, Edgelord, Lady Farina, and Shilonen. Quick Burn is a silly team that came into fruition thanks to Emily. The team is decent quick and uptime, you get an extra damage source for Emily, and it's rather fun while not being a totally terrible team option. It also allows you to creatively utilize these teammates if you have them left over, if you will. If you're using the Exalted Pyro Archon here, then that's another source of damage for you. Example teams include Indigestion Causer, Fischl, Caesar King's Lost Cousin, Emily, Executionist, Fischl, Xiangling, Perfume Woman. Double Hydro works too, but I generally prefer Raiden Shogun here because she's a more effective driver. She reduces the ER requirements of the 2 Hydros, whereas Clorinde does not. Yes, that's right, Juice just said a positive thing about the Electro Archon. I think that the champion duelist is better suited to roles where her own damage is being bolstered up, as opposed to her being a driver. But if you want her to be a driver, then sure, hand her the license. Example teams include Navia's dad's Game Ender, Lady Farina, Yolan, and a flex slot. Shilonen would be ideal. Hyper Bloom will work fine, but it's not really the most ideal Clorox team. It'll work well if you want to use those teammates, or if there's a specific elemental check that you're trying to cover which would crumble when put up against this team. Fine option if you want to use it, her other teams will be more valuable. Example teams include Clorinde, Fischl, Lady Farina, and Nihida. Physical is a meme team that I am mentioning because if I did not mention it, I would get comments about it. It exists, it's not that good, use it only if you care about it. Not a meta use case for her, just a fun team where you can abuse 4-piece Ocean Hued Clam on Chi-Chi for fun. Example teams include When Evil Lurks, Shoot on Sight, 4-piece Ocean Hued Clam Chi-Chi, Lady Farina, and Zhongli. Yet how does this swift duelist work? Well, her normal attacks will deal 5 simple physical strikes, nothing much to add here. As for her skill, she'll enter the Night Vigil state, where her normal attacks will become electro-infused. Every time she shoots off a normal attack, she'll gain some Bond of Life, and she can stack this up to 3 times via her skill until you can't gain any more from shooting. Then, when you press skill after building up her Bond of Life, she will consume all of her Bond of Life and self-heal. This is the main meat of her kit's damage share. As for her burst, she'll unleash a massive electro nuke which will give her a ton of Bond of Life, which once again, can only be consumed when she does her skill dash. It's a very strong burst power-wise. As for her Ascension passives, simple. Her A1 will have her electro attacks deal more damage when electro-related reactions are triggered, with the extra amount scaling off of her attack. Cool stuff, increases the value of building attack on her. Note that this caps at free K attack. Her A4 will give her 20% free crit rate based on her Bond of Life mechanics, while also buffing up her self-heal. Great passive that provides you free stats, which makes the character easier to build. As for talent's priority, simple, go for this. Her normal attack scalings are all within her skill, so ignore leveling her bare normals. Don't neglect her burst, however, since it's really strong. I find it super satisfying to gun down enemies with it. 100% worth your resources. My recommended talent spread would be 1-10-9, but if you want to save resources, then 1-9-8 will be fine. Do you wish to pay to bail yourself out of court? Understandable, since your only other option would be to face this intimidating duelist. So let's talk Constellations. This is actually quite a solid increase to Clorinde's damage output while also offering more electro application out of her. Great early con, you should be happy if you end up landing upon this. Very strong C2 that once again massively increases the damage output of this character, while also enhancing your A1. If you care a lot about Clorox in particular, then this is worth it, but keep in mind that other C2s are much stronger at the moment, such as Mualani's or Moika's. Plus 3 to your skill is greatly appreciated, considering that it's the main meat of her kit. A pretty decent C4 that plays into your Bond of Life based mechanics. Not much else to add here. Good stuff. Upgrading her nuclear burst is greatly appreciated, considering the insane damage that it's capable of doing. Neat C5. Obviously this is good, but where does it stand in the whale meta? Well, it's decent, but not really a first choice type C6. You'd rather go for the likes of Moika, Mualani, or Arlecchino first. Shoot. You'd even want to consider others like C6 Navia or Lady Farina over C6 Coriander, or even C6 Settle Down. Is it a powerful C6? For sure. But I think the others would get you more value long term. But let's be real, you're a Clorox simp if you came this far in her Constellation lineup, so her whale value probably doesn't matter too much. In which case, yes. This is of course an excellent boost to your performance, which brings her up to a whole other level. In terms of high primogen based investment, I'd go for her weapon first, then cons up to C3. Further than that would be to go all the way to C6. Otherwise, just stop halfway through. She might not be the absolute best DPS out there, but she's certainly strong. I think she's impressive within her niches in which she functions best, especially when you consider that she's the strongest electro DPS on the market right now. So if you're looking for a cool woman to gun down your enemies in style, then she'll get the job done for you just fine. Good DPS that I expect to remain solid for a while longer. What do you think about Clorox Bleach? Does her damage still impress you, or do you find it to be a little outdated? Let me know down below, I'd love to hear your thoughts. As always, I have a ZZZ second channel. Head on over and subscribe if you're interested in some fun, silly ZZZ content. I'd also like to mention that I stream on Twitch. I stream once a week, every week on Saturdays, starting from 3 PM UK time. Come along so we can play Wuthering Waves, ZZZ, and do some other fun stuff together. Hopefully this video was able to get your Cloriander overwhelming her enemies with her speed. This has been Juice, signing out, and who would win in a fight? Clorox Bleach or Gawming Chair?